Thank you for watching this web presentation. I'm Craig Fleischman, Physician Manager of this IAC QI Maintenance of Certification activity for Quality Improvement Assessment. The aim of this QI project is to provide a tool for the interpreting physician to improve the completeness and consistency of diagnostic imaging case studies and final reports by adhering to the requirements outlined in the IAC standards. The goal is to improve the overall quality score of case studies and final reports to 95% within 1 year. Completion of this MOC Part 4 activity will result in receiving 20 activity points from the American Board of Internal Medicine or 25 activity points from the American Board of Pediatrics. Additional MOC provider applications are pending. When looking at the Institute of Medicine quality dimensions, this project will focus on effectiveness. Let's review the requirements for successful completion of this project. First, you will view an information webcast, which you are doing now. This will be followed by completion of a 5-question quiz prior to evaluating studies. You will then evaluate case studies and final reports of complete studies using an electronic questionnaire. You will review 10 consecutive case studies and their corresponding reports for each quarter of the year that this project will encompass. The electronic questionnaire evaluations submitted will use the IAC QI self-assessment tool. To participate, physicians must be listed as an active interpreting staff member in an IAC accredited facility. Physicians may participate individually or as a group. A summary of each quarterly assessment must be discussed in the facility's biannual QI meeting. Verification of participation will be done at the end of the activity when the participant will upload the following: the facility's biannual QI meeting minutes documenting each physician's participation, a summary of findings reviewed from the quality improvement self-assessment analysis associated with this IAC MOC activity, and a completed and signed attestation form from the MOC provider for each participant. Alternatively, a letter of attestation from your facility's medical director may be uploaded stating that the physician or physicians participated in the facility's most recent QI meeting and that the findings from the MOC activity were discussed. Along with this would be a completed and signed attestation form from the MOC provider for each participant. A series of questions will address a minimum of 4 quality metrics, listed here as test appropriateness, technical quality review, interpretive quality review, and report completeness and timeliness. Additional modality-specific metrics may also be evaluated: radiation safety for CT and dental CT, report correlation for echocardiography, and case review for vascular testing. So what is an assessment? An assessment is a collection of cases of a single testing area or study type within a modality. For instance, transthoracic echocardiography and adult echocardiography. An assessment must contain 10 cases for each quarter for this project, and each participating physician will be assigned the same 10 cases for review at each site. When reviewing a case, you will be presented with a series of multiple-choice questions regarding the quality of the examination performed. Questions are grouped by quality improvement measures such as test appropriateness and technical quality review. Once you have answered all the questions about a case, you'll be asked to submit your responses and your case review is complete. The measures you choose to use for improvement will be dependent on the elements that may be deficient in your reports. For feedback, you will receive analysis reports in this format showing the participants' findings and comments for each response, as well as aggregate quality scores per quality measure by quarter. This is an example of an analysis report for test appropriateness and technical quality review. Here's an example report for interpretive quality review. And finally, an analysis report for report completeness and timeliness. All participants will receive an overall quality score, which is based on your evaluation of the 4 quality measures of test appropriateness, technical quality review, interpretive quality review, and report completeness. You may also be asked to evaluate one additional quality measure if you have selected CT, dental CT, echocardiography, or vascular testing as your modality for review. And as a reminder then, those would be radiation safety for CT and dental CT, report correlation for echocardiography, and case review for vascular testing. For those who are participating as a group, you will also receive an overall staff agreement score, which is also based on the quality measures evaluated. A quarterly summary will be provided following the completion of each assessment of 10 cases. If participating as a group, everyone must complete their quarterly evaluations prior to the report being generated. In addition to the average quality score for the current quarter, the scores from the most recently completed quarter will be provided for comparison. This is an example of the final quarterly submission where quarter 4 is compared to quarter 3. However, all 4 quarters are displayed to demonstrate the overall progress of the individual or group. Here's an example of the quality score. And for group participation, this is an example of the agreement score. Following the completion of the 4th quarterly submission, a series summary will be provided comparing the quality scores from quarter 4 against those from quarter 1 to include the percentage change from quarter 1. For those participating as a group, you will also be provided with a series summary of the agreement scores. This summary can be the basis of discussion at the facility's biannual QI meeting. In this next section, I will discuss methods of process improvement that you can use in your lab to improve the overall quality score of case studies and reports. I'll describe the use of PDSA, or Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles to test ideas and changes for learning and improvement within your lab. Specifically, you will want to try small changes to meet an aim, identify a measure to determine if you're meeting the aim, and if you're not meeting your aim, come up with ideas of changes that you test with PDSA cycles. So the first question to answer is, what are we trying to accomplish? And this is the purpose of the aim, which is a specific, measurable, actionable, realistic statement of expected results of an improvement process. A strong, clear aim guides improvement efforts and is characterized as intentional and deliberate, unambiguous, specific, and concrete. It should be measurable with a numeric goal and agreed upon and supported by those involved. You should make your aim actionable and useful. The overall aim of this project is to improve the quality score at your site. But for the PDSA cycles, you'll be looking at smaller changes to address specific elements that may be deficient. For instance, if there is disagreement regarding the degree of valve regurgitation, you may want to review selected studies with other readers to reach a consensus on regurgitation grades. A scoring sheet with criteria for each grade of regurgitation can be prominently displayed in the echo reading area, available for review by the readers. Next, we need to know what we're going to measure in order to determine if we're meeting our aim. Measures are indicators of change. Several measures are usually required for a project. In PDSA cycles, measurement used immediately after an idea or change has been tested helps determine its effect. Key measures and measurements should ideally be directly linked to goals, be integrated into daily work whenever possible, be graphically and visibly displayed, and for PDSA cycles, be simple enough to accomplish in short periods of time. Many of the elements reported back to you in the QI Self-Assessment Analysis Report can serve as a measure for a PDSA cycle. You have an aim. You've identified measures to determine if you're achieving your aim. Next, you need to think of ideas that will ultimately result in improvement in the quality score. So what changes can you make that will result in an improvement? Ideas for changes or change concepts to be tested in a PDSA cycle can be derived from evidence or results of research and science, critical creative thinking or observation of the current system, or even theories, questions, and hunches. When selecting ideas to test, consider the following. There should be a direct link to the aim and goals. You should consider the likely impact of the change and avoid low-impact changes. Also consider the potential for learning. Realize that a series of tests can build on one another, and you can therefore design small-scale, short-cycle tests. Putting it all together, you start with planning. You should be objective with evaluation of first quarter results and developing a plan of implementing a small change. This will include identification of who will be responsible, what the change will be, where and when it will take place, and over what time period. Next is do. Collect data as planned, document experience, problems, and surprises. The data is then analyzed and compared to what was predicted as the outcome. Did something unexpected happen? What conclusions can you draw from this test of change? Finally, you will act with refinements and modifications to be used in the next cycle. Ideally, you'll have a series of PDSA cycles that will lead you from your baseline to the goal of greater than 95% quality score for case studies and final reports. Some tips to make the most of the PDSA cycles and tests of change. First, think a couple of cycles ahead as you are planning. Consider doing more cycles at a smaller scale and faster pace. Be innovative and flexible to make tests feasible. Collect useful and only just enough data during each test to minimize the data collection burden. Learn from failure as well as successes. And communicate what you've learned with your colleagues. And engage leadership support. Finally, this is an example of a sheet you may choose to modify or use to develop small tests of change in your lab. Thank you for viewing this webinar and participating in this QI project. Please click on the Take a Brief Quiz button to take a 5-question quiz.